Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending today's news conference. I'm Bessie Scott, Antioch City Manager. Today, I'm pleased to announce that I've appointed Captain Joe Vigil as the Acting Chief of Police for the Antioch Police Department, effective this Friday. Chief Vigil will continue moving our police department in a positive direction while our national search for a permanent police chief continues. Chief Vigil has been dedicated to Antioch and has served in various leadership roles at the police department. He has also served as acting chief for the Antioch Police Department from August of 2023 to February of 2024. As acting chief, he provided stability and support to the men and women who serve our community. I am confident that Chief Vigil will continue the work of lowering crime, engaging our community, and helping us seamlessly transition to a permanent police chief. Maintaining public safety and public trust in our police department continues to be a top priority for me. One of the most important decisions I will make in my role is choosing a new police chief who will lead our department into a new era. We will take time to choose the right individual for the job that our community deserves. Choosing a new chief is just a part of the positive changes we are making at the Antioch Police Department. Recently, the city announced a deal with the Department of Justice that includes detailed reforms and 5 years of monitoring by an independent law enforcement consultant approved by the Justice Department. The goal of this monitoring process is to ensure that our police department is adhering to non-discriminatory policing, training, hiring, and discipline. In terms of a search for a permanent police chief, the City of Antioch is conducting a robust nationwide search. We have engaged the services of executive recruiting firm Bob Hall and Associates. Our process is thorough, and we are looking for the best candidates to help lead our police department. Our Director of Human Resources is here and can answer questions about the process. I know there's been some talk about who our selection firm will be. It is Bob Hall and Associates, and our first community forum will be January 16th. And also, if you come to our January 14th council meeting, they will be giving an overall presentation with detailed timelines of the police recruitment process. So please come to that. I also want to take this opportunity to express my deepest gratitude to Chief Brian Addington, who will be retiring from the interim chief position. Chief Addington has provided guidance, wisdom, and a foundation from which we can continue to grow. Chief Addington will still be involved, lending his support and input as we continue to move forward. And he's going to come up next. And before he comes up, I just want to say I'm hopeful and I'm optimistic about our city's future. And I ask our community for your continued support as we work to create a greater Antioch. Thank you.
A lot of cameras here. Good morning. It has truly been an honor to serve in this role and work alongside such dedicated individuals over the past 10.5 months that I have served as the interim Antioch Police Chief. And I believe that we've seen the department stabilize. And one of our biggest priorities has been hiring, and that is progressing well. As of today, we do have 80 sworn officers, 65 who are on active duty that are patrolling. By the end of this month, we'll have an additional 6, 5 of which are graduating from the academy, another one who's joining us as well, and then we also have 5 more in the academy. Not to mention over 60 individuals that are in some form of the hiring process for police officer entry level, police officer lateral or academy graduate, our community service officer positions, as well as our dispatcher positions. And I would say right now we have the highest number of lateral applicants and academy graduates that have applied in the 10.5 months that I've been here. So I'm very optimistic, and I know that we are on the right path. But getting to full staffing is going to take time, and we will require some patience. But I am optimistic that we will be up to full staffing within about a year. Crime has undoubtedly been a challenge, a significant challenge for us here, but I think there is also signs of promise. We have more officers on the street. We've had increased capacity to address crimes like robberies, shootings, and stolen vehicles, all of which have been persistent challenges for us. We've also made strides in transparency and accountability, including, as the city manager mentioned, our recent agreement with the United States Department of Justice. There's still work to do, but my message today is one of hope. We will reach full staffing. We will build a reputation as a professional, constitutional police department, and we will put this dark chapter behind us, working together to fight crime and restore a sense of safety for all who live and work in the city of Antioch. I want to take a moment to recognize and congratulate soon-to-be acting Chief Joe Vigil. When I first arrived, I didn't know Joe personally, but I've been consistently impressed by his depth of knowledge, his unwavering commitment to constitutional policing, and his strong focus on crime reduction strategies. He truly cares about Antioch, and he has been working tirelessly to improve this city. Having now worked alongside him, I can confidently say that he will lead this department in the right direction over the next 5 or 6 months as the national search for a permanent chief is underway. And then finally, I just want to take a moment to thank everybody who trusted me and allowed me to serve in this role. It has truly been a privilege, and I remain hopeful that Antioch has a bright future ahead of us. Together, we will continue to build a safer, stronger police department. And lastly, I just want to thank the men and women of the Antioch Police Department who go out there every single day and work to keep this community safe. What really inspires me is all of the outstanding police work, selfless service, and sacrifice that they do every single day to keep each of you safe. So thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, there's a lot of cameras. I'd like to take a moment to thank Chief Brian Addington for his time with us. The leadership and direction he provided over the last year has been beneficial and meaningful as we continue to rebuild and move our department forward. I am grateful for the short time I've been able to work with you. I would also like to thank the city manager, Ms. Scott, for her faith in me, continuing to move the police department in a positive direction. As we work towards finding a permanent chief, I will continue working with Ms. Scott, city staff, and all department heads to ensure a safer and stronger Antioch. I want us to continue working with our mayor and city council on moving the agency and the needs of the city forward. Our priorities will continue to be hiring, recruiting, and public safety. We will continually work with staff to examine our deployment strategies and resources, along with working with local leaders in our community to help the city thrive. I'm looking forward to working with the Department of Justice and making the police department better in every aspect possible. Transparency, community trust, and crime reduction are our priorities. I will update our residents on milestones as we progress on these initiatives. I ask for the community's involvement, feedback, and support as we take on these challenges together. Please know you have my full commitment, and I am passionate about the city of Antioch and our police department. Thank you for your time today.
Good morning, everybody. Today marks another step forward in our efforts to revamp and enhance public safety in the city of Antioch. As your mayor, my focus is on finding a permanent police chief for our city, for our community, a person who's passionate about our vision and will work in partnership with the community leaders on reducing crime, rebuilding our police department, and reestablishing public trust. As we begin our nationwide search for a permanent police chief, I'm confident that Acting Chief Vigil will continue the work that's already underway to make our neighborhood safer and find the best and most qualified candidates to serve our police department. Acting Chief Vigil is a dedicated public servant who shares the same vision of a safer and stronger Antioch. He understands and has demonstrated his commitment to our community and to our police department in the past, and for that I thank you, Chief. I also want to thank retiring Chief Brian Addington for his leadership and his heart to serve Antioch during a difficult time, and mostly for building a foundation that we can build on in the future. Thank you, Chief. I'm optimistic about the future of Antioch and our police department and our city. Hiring a new chief, coupled with the recent agreement between the city and the Antioch Police Department and the U.S. Department of Justice, signals a new beginning for Antioch. We want our community to know that we are taking measurable steps in the right direction to address past abuses, bring the necessary leadership, training, accountability, and transparency needed to heal our community. Safety is a cornerstone of a thriving community. I've heard our residents' and businesses' concerns loud and clear, and I share your sentiments and your frustrations. As we begin this new journey, I encourage our residents to walk with us, to share their insights, and to engage with city leaders. Together, we will make Antioch an even better place to live and to work and to grow. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a couple of questions.
Did you say this was effective as of today, as of
Friday.
as of Friday?
Yes,
Last Friday.
the 10th. Yeah.
There's been some rumors out that some of the new recruits have already decided not to stay with the department because the culture has not changed. Is there any truth to that? And maybe for the mayor or for yourself, can you ensure the public that any of the text message scandal officers with the racist, homophobic, and violent text messages, that they won't be returning to the department? And how are you going to prevent them from coming back?
I'm going to let the chief answer.
That was a multi-part question. I'm not sure I remembered every single aspect of that. But first, I've heard that, rumor that one individual left the department and blamed it on a continued culture here. I would counteract that. I do not think that is the facts. I have worked here for the past 10 and a half months. I have talked to former officers here, current officers here, and this is a department that has a good culture that does not allow inappropriate things to be said or done. If things come to our attention, we deal with those things swiftly. Some recruits make it, some recruits don't. That's not unique to Antioch. That's across the board. I would say it would probably about 2 out of 100 applicants make it all the way through the process and become, Antioch police officers. So we do have strict standards, and we're not going to reduce those standards for anybody. Relative to officers that have come back from work, obviously there were a lot of officers. Every single one of those cases were looked at individually for the merits of exactly what occurred, and the range was termination to some being completely exonerated. I've said this before many times. State law bars me from talking about specific discipline related to officers, but I have 100% confidence in every single person who wears the Antioch uniform that they are committed to constitutional policing.
Just 10 and a half months later, was it worth it for you to come in here and do this? Because you didn't have to. You're not resigning. You're re-retiring. You already had a distinguished career before you came here. And you had to soak in the FBI and lawsuits you were named in, even though you weren't a part of it all. So what do you leave here with, and was it worth it?
Yeah, I don't know that I knew what I was getting myself into, I guess. But 100%, I think it was worth it. It has been tremendously rewarding to me. I didn't realize how much I would grow to love the city of Antioch, the community, and the men and women who work here. You really feel like a second family. It was a little tough at the beginning, but I think we got through some rough times, and I've really, it's been very personally rewarding to me. And as I think I alluded to in my speech, the thing that really warms me and gives me hope for the future is seeing the individual things, most of which people never even hear about, that our men and women in the police department do every single day. I think you saw, last month, a family had their home burglarized and Christmas gifts stolen. And one of our officers led an effort with other officers to collect money and replace those gifts. And those kind of acts happen on a regular basis, and that really has been the motivation for me. I think we've done a better job letting you guys see those stories as well, and I know soon-to-be Chief Vigil will do that as well. But yes, it's been personally rewarding for me. Thank you.
I have a question. I've been here, this is like the 6th chief that we've had since I've been here in Antioch. And I can say, Chief Addington, you were a great one, and Interim Chief Vigil, you were a great one. Stress going in and out of the city council meetings, and Chief Vigil took his time to come up to me and pay attention to my pain. And even today, when I see him, I still hug him. I don't have a problem with the police. The police had a problem with me and my family and people in this community. It was text about it. And I just want to say, ask the question of, with all of the investigations and the changes within the department, will there be any oversight and or any changes in this, the records department and the clerk's department and the investigative department? Because I've been coming down here for years, and it seems as though a lot of the complaints that I had submitted, they just disappeared. But I have my copies with the stamp date of Antioch Police. So had there been any investigations or these complaints went to where they should have gone, then maybe things would have been caught earlier. And then when you go into the clerk's office to submit a complaint or ask for a report, because I'm dealing with the family now that's going through it, they treat you terrible. So I want to know where they're that and or oversight, because we are citizens and we have that department to come into to be able to express our feelings and concerns of what's going on.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. I think it's a good one. I would say that even before we entered into the Department of Justice settlement agreement, there were process improvements being made under both Acting Chief Vigil and Interim Chief Addington. And as a result of the settlement agreement, there's going to be a systemic look into all the policies, operations, training, processes, procedures, forms going forward. Not that that would not have been done otherwise, but this is good to have, certain technical assistance that we'll get from the DOJ and other entities, as well as having someone come in who will look at everything and do a systemic review of all the processes, procedures, see where there needs to be streamlined process improvement interventions and best practices improvements. So that's my first part. I'll let the chief take the second part of that.
Sure. Yeah, obviously I can't speak for what happened when I was not here, but we have ensured that any complaint that comes in is investigated. We use outside investigators to do that. There's a litany of ways that you can submit a complaint or a compliment to the police department. You can come in online, you can email us, you can email me directly. We're also working on a new platform that we'll have hopefully up online that ties directly into the system that we use to monitor and track all of our complaints, IA Pro, where you can enter the complaint there, and then you'll get automatic text or email updates as the case progresses forward. So I think we do have a good professional standards unit. If you've read the memorandum of agreement, you'll see that professional standards unit is going to probably have a name change to Professional Standards and Compliance Division. There's some terms in that includes that members of the same union will not be conducting investigations amongst each other, that we're going to continue to use outside investigators. And then the other thing is there will be a monitor that is paid for by the city that comes in, that looks at all of our practices and makes recommendations for us to improve and reports our progress to the city council every 6 months in a meeting. And that's not via Zoom. They'll come in personally and do that. So I think we've got a robust system, and yes, there is additional oversight and monitoring that will ensure that we're following best practices. Thank you.
Chief, during that text messaging scandal and some of those threads were a lot of officers that were on those threads, not actively participating, but seeing the messages, yet they didn't come forward. What is going to change now, and how will that be handled if somebody does not speak up?
Yeah, so I think you've projected a little bit into that statement in the sense that, we do have an obligation to prove that somebody saw a text message. Sometimes that's difficult to do. We hired outside investigators, all of who were lawyers, that did these individual investigations and made findings on whether or not they saw the messages or whether they didn't see the messages. We could have all the policies and all the rules in place we want to, but really it's the culture of the police department. We have to have supervisors that are holding themselves and others accountable. And anybody Anybody who sees any kind of message that's inappropriate, racist, homophobic, or anything like that has an absolute duty to report it. And if they do not, they can and will be disciplined up to termination.
I have a question. So,
We'll take one more question.
okay, so what I want to know is the people who were over the police, who were supposed to do their job, who didn't do their job, what is going to happen to them? Because they've been just, you know, able to escape away from it and not be held accountable. So that's my question.
Meaning people in the police department that were...
I mean, the city manager who was over the police at the time of everything that happened that did nothing about it.
The city manager who was here at the time is not the city manager anymore. So thank you for your question. I think that will conclude our press conference.
Yeah, yes.
The MOU is now been signed. Are you guys satisfied with what was agreed upon? And what will the priorities be? And are there any challenges that you guys see in 25-page documents allowing that?
Yeah, that's a, yeah, sure, we can all, I'll take it first since I've done this before. So I will say that this is actually a really great stipulated memorandum, an agreement. We could have had a full-blown consent decree and been under federal jurisdiction, under a federal court with federal oversight. And that can be really crushing to a city. So I want to, from my own experience as a certified inspector general for public safety, say that the mitigating efforts that this Antioch Police Department, police officers and chiefs have done kept us out of a full-blown consent decree. So while you're submitting your complaints, please submit your compliments as well. They mitigated before we even got to the settlement phase. They started acting and doing interventions along with the city attorney. So there are a lot of things that have gone into making sure that this was not as bad as it could be. And I think the city and the police department needs credit for that. And so this has nothing to do with who was the city manager at the time. I know that seems to be some questions. One of the things I can tell you as being an executive director managing municipal oversight before is you don't always have information about what's on people's personal cell phones as the manager of a city. So I want everybody to balance, information and who's responsible for what. As far as this agreement, it is up to 5 years with the ability to terminate after 3 years. It is not 5 years plus. Also, we get to choose who our federal monitor is, mutually with the Department of Justice, which is great for us. Half of the things in this agreement have already been done under Chief Addington, so this is not insurmountable. Please understand that constitutional policing is good for everyone, and so whether or not we have a settlement agreement, we were going to do these things. So I think that's my part of the answer, and I'll let the mayor go next.
Yeah, so we're happy with where we find ourselves with the agreement, and we have every intention of getting the staffing hired that needs to be in place for that, making sure that we meet the 180-day requirements, and that we are moving forward with this in a diligent manner in the hopes that it can be concluded in 3 years as opposed to 5. So that's our desire and the way we'll be heading with this agreement.
It's my understanding that there is still a possibility, I mean, there's a pending federal lawsuit, and as part of that, they are pursuing a consent decree. I mean, what do you think of that? Is there a possibility that the department could be under this settlement and an additional consent decree?
Sure, I'll answer that question. That is incorrect. So this is the settlement. If we were going to be under a consent decree, we would have gotten a letter of finding. This is the Federal Department of Justice's settlement, which stops the case going to a consent decree.
So that lawsuit going to federal court, because I know part of what they want is a court-ordered consent decree.
No, that's also incorrect. So we negotiated the settlement agreement with the federal government and the U.S. Attorney's Office.
There can't be a separate one.
No, and we will not be under non-compliance to get to that point. So we will settle this before we even get there under the 5 years.
Okay, now what about the California Department of Justice, that action? Is there
that investigation is still ongoing, so we can't speak to that.
So is there a chance there could be a separate, state settlement?
There is a chance that there could be some sort of stipulated agreement, but it will not be on top of this. If there's some things that will happen, it will probably be in conjunction with the federal agreement. All right, and I just want to,
Just one question for Captain.
sure, last question. Sir.
Will you be applying for the permanent job?
If I'm able to, yes, I will.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for attending. I also want to acknowledge the Antioch Police Oversight Committee, who is here, as well as our council members who are here, and our city treasurer and everybody else who's here. So thanks for hanging out with us today, and have a great day.